Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us once more for the third day of the Southasia Lectures 2025. Um, Today, I'm very excited to introduce to you an expert from Bhutan. Dr. Norbu has extensive expertise in resource management, climate change adaptation, and sustainable natural resource management. He teaches land use, natural resource management, and conservation at the Center for Climate and Sustainable Futures, a school for field studies in Paru, Bhutan, and also leads the Forests and Water Program at the Bhutan Ecological Society, a civil society organization based in Thimphu, Bhutan. He completed his doctorate in natural resources and life sciences from the University of Natural Resources and Applied Life Sciences, BOKU, in Vienna, Austria. Throughout his career, Norbu has held several key positions and has been involved in numerous projects and initiatives related to environmental conservation and sustainable development. Notably, he served as the project coordinator for the Developing Ecosystem-Based Solutions for Managing Biodiversity Landscapes in Bhutan project at the Royal Society for Protection of Nature. He also held the position of Chief Forestry Officer at the Forest Resources Management Division, Department of Forests and Park Services. Norbu Wangdi has been recognized for his contributions in the field of environmental research and conservation. He was a UNESCO World Academy of Sciences Young Affiliate from 2018 to 22 and a Young Leader for the Science and Technology in Society Forum in Japan in 2019. In addition to his professional roles, Dr. Norbu has published numerous articles and research papers in esteemed journals and has presented at various conferences and symposiums. Thank you so much for agreeing so readily to do this. It's a cold email from a complete stranger, and I'm very, very grateful and excited to learn from you today. Over to you. You have about 30 minutes.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dr. Sornaji, and of course, Chamika, and of course, all the audience for this seminar today. So, thank you very much. It's an opportunity for me also to share whatever little I know about the climate change policy and justice and our experiences from Bhutan. So, I'm extremely delighted to share and have this opportunity to share. Yeah. So, can you all see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so just to provide an overview of the national context. So maybe some of you who know where Bhutan is. I think we are located a small country. I think located between India and China to the north. Yeah, sandwiched between two countries. So in terms of areas, if you look at, we are slightly more than 38,000 kilometers square. Yeah, square kilometers, and with a population of almost 700,000 people. Our GDP per capita, I think, as per the 2024 status, is around $4,000, and then we are mostly an agrarian society, with about 41.7% of the population still dependent on farming, agriculture, and then mostly subsistence farming. Yeah, not so much of commercial and export-oriented farming, but just for self-sustenance. In terms of economy, I think if you look at then tourism, hydropower are the major economic drivers for our economy. Yeah, currently. In terms of other natural resources, I think forests. I think we have about 70% of our country under forest cover. Yeah, And then these forests, they provide critical services in terms of water, medicinal plants, food, and timber. Yeah, and then we have three ecosystem regions like alpine ecosystem, temperate, and then subtropical ecosystems. And then another 52% of the total area are completely protected under protected area system. Yeah, you can see, I mean, we have five national parks, then four wildlife sanctuaries, one strict nature reserve, a botanical park, and then we have yeah, nine biological corridors, I think, which are all connecting this various protected areas and then providing contiguous protected landscape. Yeah. And in terms of policies and legal frameworks, I think we have very good policies here. The Constitution of the Kingdom of Bhutan, National Environment Protection Act since 2007, the National Forest Policy 2011, Forest and Nature Conservation Act 2023. Yeah, we had the 1997 Forest and Nature Conservation Act, but then now we have the latest version of the act. Then we have the Water Act 2011, and then very recently we also adopted the climate change policy for Bhutan, yeah, in 2020. And then our Article 5 Constitution of the Kingdom of Bhutan, I think, says that in order to conserve the country's natural resources and then prevent degradation of the ecosystem, a minimum of 60% of Bhutan's total land shall be maintained under forest cover for all time. So these are some of the strong policies and legal frameworks which guides our environmental or the conservation goals. And Bhutan has also made pioneering climate commitments. I think we all remember that in COP15 at Copenhagen, I think Bhutan made a historic commitment to remain carbon neutral for all times to come. Yeah, and then we also recommitted or reaffirmed our commitment to remain carbon neutral again in 2015. Then Bhutan is already carbon negative because we have almost 70% of the forest cover, absorbing more than three times the CO2 that the nation emits. Yeah? And then our development philosophy, I think, is the aligned to the gross national happiness philosophy, which reinforces Bhutan's sustainable development goals while building climate resilience across vulnerable sectors and communities. But if you look at, because of the Bhutan's location, I think the geolocation, it's mostly in the Hindu Kush Himalayas and then has a lot of fragile mountainous landscapes. It's also a landlocked and least developed country. Hence, I think it renders much more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. If you look at sectors also, I think there's a heavy dependence on climate sensitive sectors such as agriculture and hydropower. And there's a very low level of economic diversification, and then further renders all these sectors uh, to the vulnerability to the impacts of climate change. Yeah. And towards the north, I think we have more than 2,600 glaciers, and some of the glaciers, as you can see, I think has turned from muddish to dark blue. I think which means the glaciers have melted, and then these are forming into glacial lakes. You know, Torthormi Lake, I think, is one of the most dangerous lake on the verge of exploding. Yeah. Here you can see the image of Totomi Glacial Lake. I think His Majesty has recently been to the northern to check the status of the glaciers, and this is a condition of one of the most dangerous, like Totomi Glacier, which is now completely, I think, becoming into a lake. All the glaciers are rapidly melting, and then it poses imminent dangers to downstream communities. A lot of cascading effects because all our valleys and then important cultural buildings, songs, and landscapes, I think those will be affected by the rapid like gloves. No? So yeah, talking about key vulnerabilities, I think we already experience a lot of glacial lake outburst floods. As stated, I think there are more than 2,700 glaciers in the northern regions of Bhutan, which are rapidly melting due to the rising temperatures, and then increases the risk of GLOVs. We already had a lot of GLOV events. These are some images from the 1994 GLOV event. So there was a glacial lake outburst flood in 1994, which created a lot of havoc on the downstream communities. We lost people, we lost animals, we lost important critical like infrastructure. And then this is one of the most important valley, I think, for agriculture, Punakha Valley, where I think it's mostly we have the cultural songs also. So those are all put under danger. Yeah. Then some other vulnerabilities, current vulnerabilities, I think there's a lot of changes in the rainfall patterns. Now, I think there's a lot of extreme weather events also, which leads to frequent landslides, flash floods, and riverine floods, which damage critical infrastructures like roads, bridges, and hydropower plants. I think in the past few years, I think there has been a lot of shifts in the precipitation regimes. Now we are getting rains when they're supposed to be a dry weather. So there are a lot of media reports also on sudden cloudbursts, so flash floods, and dangerous new normal in Bhutan. Weather fluctuations wreak havoc on Bhutan's crops. So, I mean, during the time of cultivation or the harvest season, I think there's sudden rain, and then sometimes it leads to devastating losses for the families, agrarian families here. Then, if you look at land degradation, the other vulnerable area is the land degradation. I think we have scattered agriculture land parcels in slopes and river valleys. Yeah. So this map, I think from Chogel et al., I think clearly shows that how vulnerable our agriculture farmlands are also because they are all along the main river valleys. And then if something happens to the river valleys or if there's a flood, then all these rice fields and dry land agriculture will be affected. So there's a lot of risks downstream. Yeah. Then the other key vulnerable sector is the water sector. So quite recently, I think we have a lot of reports saying that of the almost 8,000 springs and water resources in Bhutan, almost 69 have already dried up, and then almost 25% of the remaining about 1,600 water sources are in the process of drying up. So we can see frequent like challenges in terms of water availability, both for drinking as well as for irrigation in Bhutan. Then there's resurgence of pests and diseases also. So now we can even see mosquitoes and dengue prevalence in high elevation areas like Laya, which is almost like 3,500 meters above elevation. Now we can see incidences of the occurrence of mosquitoes and dengue. Yeah, you can see that here it's almost in the northern, topmost northern, like the Hakasa. It's one of the northernmost uh, settlements. So there you can see that even mosquitoes have reached up there. So these are some of the critical challenges that we are facing in terms of forest resources. I think there's a lot of bark beetle outbreaks or infestations, and then creating again a lot of damages in terms of forest resources. There's increased risks to forest fires. Even I think all these are attributed to us increasing temperatures and then changing climatic conditions in the Himalayas. Yeah. So now, I mean, of course, there are a lot of challenges, but then we have also had some fair share of success stories and initiatives, current, some in the past, and then now currently being undertaken. So in terms of governance, I think this is one of the key success stories. I think we have a strong policies and frameworks in terms of environmental uh, management. So I think in as early as in 1990s, I think 3 decades before, we have already had high level multi-sectoral body, which is the National Environment Commission, highest level policy making commission has been formed, and then they deal with decisions, make decisions, coordinate in terms of matters relating to the protection, conservation, and improvement of natural environment. So it was always given importance. Then we also, for the first time, I think the first environmental trust fund was established in 1991. Yeah, it was a collaborative venture between the Royal Government of Bhutan and the bilateral and multilateral partners. So we started off with almost US dollar 25 million fund, but now I think as of November 2025, we are more than 86 million dollars reserve fund. And then this Bhutan Trust Fund, they support projects annually up to about 1.5 to $2 million annually. So in terms of environmental climate change mitigation, adaptation projects at the community as well as at the government's level. So then we have also launched another initiative called the Bhutan for Life, I think 2019 to 2033. So this was mainly to ensure that all our protected areas are financially secure by the end of the project term. So the main objective was to protect, save, and monitor wildlife and habitats. And then we have been able to secure about US dollar 14 million, 40 million, and then this will serve for another like 13, 14 years to ensure that our protected areas are like self-sustaining by the end of the project term. Yeah. Then another regional initiative, I think we have also launched the government together with government of India, then Bangladesh and Nepal. We are working together to ensure to restore about 1 billion hectares, 1 million hectares of land from mountains to the mangrove. And then in total, I think across these four countries, our target is to plant about 1 billion trees. So this is a regional initiative, but then it's supported by the Conservation International. Yeah. And then through this initiative, I think Bhutan alone, we will protect and restore 10,000 hectares of land by 2030, and then plant about 10 million trees by 2030. So already some plantation restoration works have been undertaken on the ground. Yeah. Then this is a very recent initiative. I think we launched the Restore Bhutan project also initiative, and then together with the Royal Government of Bhutan, the Conservation International, Bhutan Trust Fund, Bhutan Ecological Society, I think we are partnering. And then over the next like decade, we're going to restore about 50,000 hectares of degraded forest lands, community farmlands, and within the next decade. Then, as part of the Bhutan Ecological's outreach program, we have launched the Jigme Singye Wangchuk Outstanding Environmental Stewardship Award. I think it's a biennial award given to recognize extraordinary institutions and individuals within Bhutan and internationally, I think, contributing towards safeguarding the environment. So this year, I think we have launched the international award also. So we have launched this award in 2011, and then since now, I think we have almost the eighth or ninth environmental stewardship award. Yeah. So if you look at in terms of national initiatives, I think in 2023 we have also fully developed and adopted this national adaptation plan for the Kingdom of Bhutan, and then this is mainly to enhance resilience and across critical sectors in Bhutan. So this framework is already being implemented now with support from UNDP and other organizations, and then we are focusing at different five critical sectors. We're looking at integrated water resource management and glacial lake monitoring. Then forest ecosystems, we are looking at how we can enhance the forest management and biodiversity protection and conservation. We are also looking at energy systems, so how we can diversify our renewable energy and grid resilience, so not only depend on hydropower, but also on the other renewable energy sources like solar, Then agriculture and food security, we are looking at climate resilient crops and sustainable farming practices. Health infrastructure, we're looking at disease surveillance and how we can enhance our climate health preparedness. So this is the major focus of our national adaptation plan in terms of how we can adapt to the climate change. But the issue is, I mean, and then we have also developed like Bhutan long-term low greenhouse gas emissions and climate resilient development strategies across various sectors. We are looking at energy, food, forest and biodiversity, water, transport, and human health. Uh, but then these, I think, requires a lot of financial support, and there is a lot of gap at the moment. Currently, just to implement the national adaptation plan, we would require about 14 billion US dollars. Yeah, we're looking at 14 billion US dollars, and then across these five sectors. And then for the long term low emission strategies or climate resilient development plans and strategies just to achieve that over the next like 2050, I think we would require about so total of 6 billion US dollars. So there's a lot of financial gap at the moment. So in terms of overall challenges and issues, I think as we have seen, I think there's a lot of resource constraints, yeah, limited financial and institutional capacity across different sectors. There's a lot of technology gaps, yeah, climate finance and technology transfer, which remains significant barriers to scaling up adaptation and mitigation efforts in Bhutan. There's a lot of data limitations. I think monitoring and reporting systems need to be developed, and then this need to be strengthened for transparent tracking of climate action progress. There's a lot of data and R&D in terms of climate. In terms of future directions, yeah, I think we need to strengthen climate justice through participatory policy design and implementation. We also need to enhance transparency to improve monitoring and reporting systems for accountability. And then we need to scale our collaboration, yeah, collaboration both in terms of national as well as international and also regional collaboration in terms of cooperation and knowledge exchange. Then accelerate action. Of course, some things are being done at the ground, but I think these are not enough. So we need to scale up our resilience yeah, actions to enhance resilience and carbon neutral developmental initiatives. So finally, I mean, this is one of the iconic landscapes across the Punakha Valley. So our key message is, I mean, of course, we are doing a lot, but then I think climate is really getting severe. And then how do we ensure that we can protect our ecosystems, cultural icons, and how we can really build resilient infrastructures for the future, I think. So with that note, yeah, thank you very much everyone for your attention. Thank you. Yeah, if you have further questions, then maybe you can also write to me. This is
Yes.
some address, and then I'll be happy to share this presentation or yeah, any other information that you require. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Norbu. I was so absorbed in this that I forgot to say, please leave your questions and comments in the chat. But I'm now
Oh,
saying
okay.
that. So please go ahead and do that. Usually, at some point, I remember to put that in. But
Okay.
this was really fascinating. And I'll start, you know, take advantage of having the floor to ask you. I mean, are there in these various projects that you've talked about, are there initiatives for adaptation that come directly from um, community in the sense of small projects, local projects that say residents in an area come up with that they want to deal with? Some of these issues are really big, but there must
Mhm.
also be small ones.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I think mostly most of our adaptation projects through the climate, like GCF and then adaptation projects are related to water. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of drinking water and then enhancing like irrigation water supply. So a lot of those are being dealt at the community level because the communities
Mm-hmm.
are the direct beneficiaries. Even for our like large scale restoration projects, so we closely work together with the communities. So we try to, I mean, So from our projects, we are not importing like planting exotic species. So we only promote local indigenous species. So we also try to incorporate the needs of the communities. So communities are very much our partners in terms of delivering
Mm-hmm.
those actions on the ground. So we have a strong partnership with our local communities. So we always try to develop, yeah. Or nevertheless, I think community engagement is one of the key approaches of delivering projects in Bhutan. Yeah, mostly I think it's so we, of course, the projects needs to be developed from the central level, but then all the implementation happens at the local government level. So which are the at the communities, grassroots communities.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess my question is, when you say work with the communities, is the project initiators reach out to the community, or are there also projects that the community comes up with? And maybe the question doesn't make any sense, but
No, no,
in the
no. I
spirit of
got it. Yeah.
learning, in the
Yeah.
spirit
So a
of
lot of
learning, I'll
the
ask it.
A lot of the Bhutan Trust Fund, like the local funds, those are, I mean, so the communities themselves, through their like the representatives, they can directly submit to the Bhutan Trust Fund. For example, if they require a fund to restore their lost like water source, or
Mm-hmm.
they want to have a new like solar lift irrigation facility in their community because of challenges with water supply, then they can directly put up that proposal to the Bhutan Trust Fund. Yeah. So those kind of mechanisms are available there.
We have a couple of questions in the chat now. Um, from Tamika, we have, how is the community empowered to take actions to mitigate disaster-related risks of decentralized solar power adoption in Bhutan?
Mm. Yeah, so related to community empowerment, I think we have at the for particularly for the disaster related risks, we have the Department of Local Governments and Disaster Management. Now, I think and then for at every district, I think at the national level, they have the national level disaster management committees and all. But at the district level also, they have their own like institution, local governance disaster management committees are there. So if there's some issues related to forest fire or any other disasters like flood and all, so at the district level or till the geog level, there are committees established. So I think they function it. Yeah, once I think immediately if there's a disaster happening, then that committee is activated. Yeah.
Mhm,
Then, particularly for the gloves, I think in the critical basins, I think they have the early warning stations also established by the National Center for Hydrology and Meteorology. So,
mhm,
yeah, those some initiatives are already in place on the ground. Yeah, and then they have the mechanisms also to okay to whom to report, and then all this incident command system is being established at the communities. So uh, and then that's part of the decentralization process of the local governments also. So that's their one of the main mandates.
mhm.
Mm.
Um, would you unshare your screen so that we can?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, no,
Yeah.
that's okay. I'm saying we're all very absorbed in this conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a question from Aditya Kumar. Thank you for the presentation. Given
Uh,
that you mentioned collaborations with international organizations like UNDP, have there been any prominent impacts on projects due to widespread cuts in the aid sector? Has Bhutan shifted its financing model to account for the same? And Raki has a postscript to her question about solar adoption.
mhm,
Um, it seems to catch on in low per capita GDP societies, but gets overlooked in richer areas in non-urban areas. So
mhm.
anyway,
So, yeah,
there are several more. So we'll do this one by one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so regarding the decentralized solar power adoption, I think solar is currently a new area. I think Bhutan is trying to venture into. Nevertheless, I think we have some successful projects also being developed and then commissioned. And even I think the decentralized solar plants from the communities, I think that's already being piloted in some of the communities, most vulnerable communities. So I think so they are putting the excess energy from the whatever the solar plants generated into back to the grid. So those kind of initiatives have already been initiated. And then we have also set about 5,000 megawatts of solar energy as the target for the next 10 years or 5 years within the 13th five-year plan. So that is,
Mhm.
I think, the status as of now. There are regulatory frameworks being developed and then piloted in terms of decentralized solar power plants also, yeah. A very small scale level. In terms of collaboration with organizations like UNDP, yeah, there has been, I think we have regularly being, implementing the projects supported through UNDP, particularly the JEF Small Grants Program. And then there are also like regional organizations like the SAC Development Fund. I think their head office is based in uh, Bhutan. So we are also trying some collaborative projects with India and then some other regional partners to target like higher funding within the region. I think they also sit on a large of grants or loans. So we are trying that. And then even the GCF and adaptation, I think they have also increased their funding limits. Yeah, now I think we can go up to like 20 million or 40 million in terms of GCF. Like you can access funds up to 40 million. So despite the fact that I think many projects, there was a lot of cut in the aid sector, particularly the USAID and others. But on the other side, I think there are other avenues, like there's a huge IKI European funding, German funding also. So we are also targeting those some of the organizations like RSP and WWF. I think they are targeting those kind of funds. Yeah.
Atika Hassan asks, how much of a risk does Bhutan have for climate-induced migration and displacement? And are there any specific adaptation strategies particularly targeted towards that? I'm also going to read Dr. Rajadarshini Patra's question. How do the
Mhm.
gender issues, how are gender issues being taken care of in such risky situations? And then I'll add
So
the others later.
yeah, yeah. We have not. There's not been much research on climate-induced migration, and because particularly I think those people living at the high elevation areas, I think they have been migrating just because I think for better opportunities. But now with the regulation of the cordyceps and other normal forests, I think those people are also not really migrating. I think they are just temporary migrating to the lower elevation areas. Um,
I guess the question I'll just add on would be, are they able to return? Or
hmm.
is it a once and for all migration?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So not so much due to climate. I mean, we cannot say that people are migrating due to climate, but I think a lot of migration is basically due to rural-urban migration because of better opportunities in the cities, better livelihood in the cities. So not really due to. I mean, we can't really associate due to climate because we have communities, those who have been living in communities without adequate water sources also they are still hanging on there. So yeah, not so much data and information on the migration really due to climatic conditions, but never know, maybe in the coming years, I think when the temperatures are going to be very extreme in the southern subtropical regions, then they might migrate to the upper elevation areas. So yeah.
Uh, Dr. Patra's question, how are gender
Okay.
issues being taken care of?
Yeah, so gender, Of course, there's a lot of importance being given on gender. So any kind of large projects, the gender frameworks are required, gender action plan, gender inclusivity. I think there's a policy also being developed at the national level. So we have a national gender policy. And then mostly in all the kind of mega projects, I think gender, uh, for that matter, socioeconomic and issues are also all being considered together. So it's one of the critical components. Yeah, there's a lot of push on gender participation in politics, in decision making also. So right from the grassroots level, of course, our figures in the participation, I think it's much lower. But then, yeah, there's a push for gender like issues to be covered in all the major projects that we or any activities that we undertake. Yeah.
A. Mishra asks, how does the construction of hydraulic dams in China and Arunachal Pradesh impact water resources in Bhutan?
Here we have, I think, only two river systems that origins from China. Yeah, that's one in the east and then one in the west, Tursa. So far along the Tursa, we have not so much hydroelectric dams. Yeah, in the Tursa region, towards the western. So there's not much of a hydroelectric project going there, so not so much issue. In the eastern part, yeah, we have some dams, some hydroelectric projects being planned, but as of now, I think we have not so much issue. Yeah.
But when they are built in China or Arunachal Pradesh, how do they impact water resources in Bhutan? Is their question.
Hmm. Yeah. So, but in Arunachal Pradesh, yeah. So from the one western region, I think there's not so much issue because we don't have any hydropower plants being planted within that region. But in the east, yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, where they're building the hydropower, no, on the which river. Maybe they must be sharing the tributaries, but then
Mhm.
and the river flowing towards Bhutan, I think may not be that impacted. Yeah.
Lalita Ramdas says, thank you for a fine overview. I'm
Mhm.
repeating a question that I put to the group yesterday. Seeing that many of the climate disasters we are experiencing are linked across the mountains or the oceans in the South Asian region, how do you link with other groups in the region? Is this something that we need to strengthen going forward? And if so, how can Bhutan play a role? She clarifies, I am not talking
Mhm.
about the UN or government programs
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
There are more and more people's organizations working. How does
Mhm.
one build partnerships with them? You know, for instance, how would one reach people's environmental groups in Bhutan?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, nowadays there's so many like ways you can talk to people, I mean, with similar interests from the region. So I'm already into like working collaboratively with some Indian institutions, yeah, some Nepal institutions in Nepal. We work together with ICIMOD. Then in India, I think we are working together with, just sharing my own example, like South Asia Forum for Environment. I think they are based in Kolkata. Then we also have various informal organizations, the International River Alliance, I think based in Kolkata again. So whatever it is, I mean, it depends on one's own interests, and then you can reach out to somebody, and then they will be happy to collaborate. No, so it's not within through the diplomatic channels, but then informally also. I think if people are interested and they have similar interests, they can introduce. Like I think this lecture. No, so I think Dr. Swarna reached us through LinkedIn, and then we said, okay, we'd be happy to share some of the issues, whatever we know. So, I mean, nowadays, I think it's only a matter of one click and then one message, one greetings, and then you can be connected if you want to pursue the issues together. to find some solutions. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. So it's only, I think, you connect it to institutions with similar interests, working on similar areas. So I don't think there's uh, limitations in that. Yeah. So of course you need to find time to talk to people, to get appointment and all those things. But there are people who are seriously working, who want to do something for the communities, and then so definitely, yeah, there are a lot of opportunities besides the diplomatic channels. Yeah.
So let me add let me ask you a question as an Indian. I'm listening to you talk about all the things that Bhutan has put in place, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the relative difference in scale and thinking what are the lessons for a larger country from Bhutan's experience? Because we're also one of the purposes of this lecture series is actually to understand what is different and to also maybe think about what is adaptable and where we can copy each other and learn from each other. So, so I mean, what do you think we can take from the Bhutan experience on this? Because we have all the climate regions here,
Yeah, for Bhutan, I mean, I don't know, we call it
and you also
fortunately,
know India.
our size is small, and then, yeah, uh, most of the things I think it's much simpler here in terms of governance, in terms of institutions. I think, no. So, whatever projects we implement here or policies and plans we make here, since it's a small, like, tiny country, and then it's manageable, like you said. I mean, in terms of policies, it's very easy to implement in the field. Yeah. So not so much because it's just like and compared to India, I think India is a vast country, and then maybe one state, not even Bhutan would not be even one state of India. Yeah, compared in terms of politics and in terms of dynamics, I think of systems. Uh, but yeah, one thing is I think having strong community support, strong policies and frameworks which are implementable in the field, and then yeah, that would be the key thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just worry sometimes with scale should not become an excuse. We're very
Hmm.
big, we can't handle it. So I
Yeah.
guess I was trying to tease out a possible. There is a further comment from Lalita Ramdas and Deepak Dyawali. And one reason I'm reading out these comments is because
Hmm.
on the recording you can't see the Zoom chat. So
Yeah.
Lalita says this might be controversial, but in India, we're seeing clashes between government level policy and actual damage on the ground. How does one address and resolve those? This may also apply to, she's talking about Great Nicobar and Aravalli, but it may also apply to private projects in Bhutan.
Hmm.
And Deepak's response is very, very painful question, too true also in the case of Nepal.
Hmm.
So, and over to you now.
Yeah, in terms
Mhm,
of, I mean, hydropower projects, I think, as I said, that we don't have so much, I mean, disturbances from, I mean, the China building there. I think Deepak ji has already specified that. I think since our rivers are part of the overall
mhm,
Brahmaputra basin, so there's not so much of
mhm,
direct impact. Like I said, no, maybe the tributaries might get a little affected, but I think the rivers which are flowing towards Bhutan side would not be impacted because particularly in the in the eastern part of Bhutan, I think there's one project that we have recently, I think, signed with Tata Energy, you know.
mhm.
So that may in the future. I mean, of course, these are all like it's all up to the climate, no, climatic conditions we say. So as long as there's flow in the system, I think hopefully, yeah, this will not have major impacts in the
Mhm.
future. Yeah, definitely.
I
But
think,
for the mega projects, yeah, of course, on the ground, because some of the communities, if it's really required, then they need to be shifted or they need to be translocated. But I think. there are adequate measures provided in place. So, in terms of incentivizing them for their the enough incentives, I think the particular land relocation, I think all those are well developed and then given to the communities. Because hydropowers, anyway, I think it's not really happens in the main community areas, and then it's only in the far flung, like forested areas. And then those, of course, during the construction, there's a lot of impact, but once those are completed, then again the ecosystem revives. So, yeah,
Mhm.
so not so much socio-ecological impact from the hydropowers. Yeah. And then because our technology is run of the river scheme, so we don't have large based hydropower plants. So that's as of now, I think not so much impact. Yeah. We have also visited to Chukha hydropower project. I think that's one of our oldest, the first hydropower project, 60 megawatt. And then now, I think if you go there, you don't even see any like impact on it. So and there's greenery everywhere, and then even the landscape has its own unique like beauty. So yeah, not so much
Mhm.
long-term impacts. Yeah.
Well, I think there's one final comment essentially suggesting the need to discuss the creation of basic common approaches. And that's one of the objectives of this series because, we at some point, beyond endorsing the need for common approaches, we need to actually understand and learn a little bit more. And the point of this series is to give us all the chance to
Mhm.
deepen our knowledge and find those common bases or those differences from which to build a common approach. So I will thank you very much, Dr. Norbu, for saying yes, for taking the trouble to prepare and come and present to us and teach us so much about Bhutan. Thank you very much. And uh, I'm very grateful to those who came today. Tomorrow we will have a presentation on India by Dr. Nitya Rao, and I hope I will see you all there as well. Same place, same time. Thank you again, Dr. Norbu.
Okay, thank you so much